Okay, so good evening, class, and today we'll continue with our capital market chapter. In the last class, we have discussed about ADR, we have discussed about GDR, we have completed all those. Okay, so today we will start with the structure of capital market. We will talk about the structure of the capital market, right? So in the structure of the capital market, means Indian capital market structure of Indian capital market. We can divide it into two parts. One is what? One is the primary market. We can also call this primary market the new issue market, right? And the second one is the secondary market, or we can call this as the share market. So the Indian capital market is divided into two parts. One is the primary market, that is, we can also call this primary market as the new issue market, and the secondary is what? The secondary market. We can also call this the share market. Clear? So what is primary market and what is the difference between primary and secondary market? Now primary market means when the shares when shares are issued, long-term securities are issued for the very first time. Means what? For the very first time, any new shares is being issued, new securities is being issued, new shares is being issued. Okay, transaction, the market deals in new issue of long-term security. Means for the first time, প্রথমবার যখন কোনো নতুন সিকিউরিটিজ মার্কেটে ইস্যু হয়, নতুন সিকিউরিটিজ মার্কেটে আসে, we call it as the primary market or the new issue market. মানে for the first time a new security is being issued. অফকোর্স যেই শেয়ারসগুলো অলরেডি মার্কেটে আছে সেগুলো তো একদিন না একদিন ইস্যু হয়েছিল for the first time, and now these shares are being traded, right? So whenever the shares were issued for the first time, it was issued in the market known as the primary market or the new issue market. Clear? So this is providing a direct market. This is providing a direct market because it is arranging the mobilization of direct savings. Yes or no? So this is the direct market. We can call this as a direct market. Why direct market? Karon this is helping in mobilizing of savings directly. Means the movement of the saved amount from the savers to the borrowers. It is mobilizing it. So this is called the direct market. So primary market or the new issue market means when securities, this market deals in the issue of securities, new issue of long-term securities. Clear? যখন for the very first time কোনো নতুন সিকিউরিটি মার্কেটে লঞ্চ হচ্ছে, that will be launched in which market? It will come in the primary market or the new issue market. Then what is secondary market? Secondary market means where the existing securities or the already issued securities are being traded. যেই শেয়ারসগুলো অলরেডি মার্কেটে এক টাইমে ইস্যু হয়ে গেছে ইন দ্য প্রাইমারি মার্কেট, এখন সেই শেয়ারসগুলো ট্রেডিং কোন মার্কেটে হচ্ছে? ইন দ্য সেকেন্ডারি মার্কেট। প্রথম যখন ইস্যু হচ্ছে, ইট ইজ বিং ইস্যুড ইন দ্য প্রাইমারি মার্কেট। আফটার ওয়ান্স ইট ইজ বিং ইস্যুড, আফটার দ্যাট ওইটা ট্রেডিং হচ্ছে, মিনস পারচেজ অ্যান্ড সেল হচ্ছে। এই পারচেজ অ্যান্ড সেল, এই ফার্দার পারচেজ অ্যান্ড সেল কোথায় হচ্ছে? ইন দ্য সেকেন্ডারি মার্কেট, which is also known as the share market, and we can also call this as the indirect market. Is it clear? So the structure of the Indian capital market is divided into two parts. One is the primary market, one is the secondary market. Right? Now what? the difference between the primary market and the secondary market. The difference between the primary market and the secondary market. We'll talk about the difference. So we have already known the first difference. The first difference is what? That the market where transaction of new shares and securities are held, the market where the transaction of new shares and securities are held is the primary market. The first difference is very clear. The first difference is very clear that the market where the new issue, means the market dealing with the new issues of long-term securities, is the primary market, whereas the market where existing shares are traded is known as the secondary market. Okay. Now, next means the new issue market creates new fund. Yes or no? Yes, of course it is creating new fund, because for the very first time some security is being issued. For the very first time that some security is being issued, so it is creating new fund. It creates new fund. But in case of secondary market, it supplies what? It supplies life force to investment. The already invested money, it is providing certain force to the already invested money, because in this market we deal with those shares which have already been issued. The primary market creates new fund, whereas it supplies the life force to investment, already invested fund. যদি শেয়ার মার্কেটে ট্রেডিং অফ শেয়ার্সই না হতো, তাহলে তো যেই মানিটা আমি ইনভেস্ট করে রাখতাম সেইটার আর কোনো আমি এক্সেস কিছু রিটার্ন পেতাম না, তাই না? সো শেয়ার মার্কেট যেখানে আমার ট্রেডিং পসিবল হচ্ছে বলেই কি আমার ইনভেস্টমেন্টের কিছু এক্সেস রিটার্ন আমি পাচ্ছি। ইন কেস অফ প্রাইমারি মার্কেট নতুন ফান্ড ক্রিয়েট হচ্ছে, নিউ ফান্ড ক্রিয়েট হচ্ছে। বাট ইন কেস অফ শেয়ার মার্কেট দ্য এক্সিস্টিং যে ইনভেস্টমেন্ট রয়েছে সেই ইনভেস্টমেন্ট একটা লাইফ ফোর্স পাচ্ছে। ক্লিয়ার? ওকে, so the primary market will always help in creation and development of capital. Of course it will help in the creation and development of capital. Why? Because here the securities are issued, some new securities are issued, so it will help of course in creation and development of capital. But in this case capital to already develop hoye geche by these securities, but this market will help in maintenance of capital. It will help to maintain the capital which was already created. So this helps in creation, this helps in maintenance, this helps in creation of new fund, this provides life force to investment. Clear? Is it clear? Okay, so these are the basic difference between the new issue market and primary market. So the growth of new issue market is very much required for the economic welfare of the country. Yes or no? First of all, if new securities are not being issued, যদি নতুন সিকিউরিটি ইস্যু না হয় তাহলে তো মোবিলাইজেশনই হবে না, সেভিংসের মোবিলাইজেশন হবে না, ক্যাপিটাল ক্রিয়েশন হবে না। যখন ক্যাপিটাল ক্রিয়েশনই হবে না তখন ইকোনমিক ওয়েলফেয়ারও হবে না। So directly this is helping in economic welfare of the country, and of course the secondary market also helps, but this will indirectly helping the economic welfare, but this is helping directly in economic welfare of the country. Clear? So these are the basic differences between the new issue market, between the share market. The new issue market mainly deals with the new issue of shares, new issue of long-term securities, not shares, long-term securities will be the right term. In case of secondary market, the existing securities are being traded, already issued securities are being traded. So of course the new issue market will help in creation of new fund, whereas the secondary market will provide a life force to the already existing investment. Development or creation of capital is done in the primary market, and whereas the maintenance of capital is done in the secondary market. Of course the primary market or the existence of the new issue market is very much important for the economic welfare. Similarly, the existence of secondary market is also required for the maintenance of that welfare, to keep the welfare at a stable stage, to keep the welfare at a stable position. So these are the basic difference between the new issue market and between the secondary market. Okay, so you will find the difference in your books. You can consult your books, you can see the books. Okay, so now we will talk about what, and it's very important. Okay, the difference between the primary market and the secondary market is important for your examination. Okay, you will find the differences in the books you have purchased. You can write it from there. Okay, now what is there are different methods of new issue. Whenever we are talking about new issue, there are different methods of this new issue. Clear? So today we'll start with the methods of new issue. So we'll talk about the methods of the new issue. Methods of new issue. Okay. Now the first method is public issue. The first method of new issue is public issue. So first method is what? Public issue. Now under this public issue, again we will talk about three types of public issue. Three types of public issue. Number one is IPO. We have heard about IPO. You all have heard about IPO. What is the full form of IPO? Initial public offer. What is the full form? Initial public offer. So the first type of public issue is initial public offer. And what is public issue? It is one of the methods of new issue. How we can bring new issue in the market. That is one of the method of such a new issue is public issue. And there are three types of public issue. First one is initial public offer, that is IPO. Right? Now the second one. The second one is FPO. FPO. We can call this as further public offer or follow-on public offer. Okay, we can call this as further public offer, or we can also call this as follow-on public offer. FPO. And the third one is what? The third one is what? It is called offer for sale. OFS, offer for sale. OFS, offer for sale. So we are getting the three types of public issue. One is the IPO, that is the initial public offer. The next one is FPO, that is a further public offer or follow-on public issue. And the third one is offer for sale. So in the first method of new issue, that is public issue, which is again divided into three types. One is IPO, one is FPO, and another one is offer for sale, that is OFS. Right? In case of IPO, what is happening? IPO is nothing when shares are issued to the public for the first time, when the company for the first time is coming out with share issue. When a company issues securities for the first time to public, it is called initial public offer. Whenever a company is launching or whenever the company is coming into the share market, listing its shares, whenever the company is issuing shares to the public for the first time, যখন প্রথমবার একটা কোম্পানি পাবলিককে শেয়ার ইস্যু করা শুরু করছে, it's called IPO. Initial public offer, when for the first time company issues securities, that is called initial public offer, IPO. What is follow-on public offer or further public offer? When shares are issued to the public subsequently. There is always a first time, and that first time is known as the IPO. And after that first time comes the second time and third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Whenever the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, we will not count in that manner. We will call it as further public offer or subsequent. Whenever the company is issuing shares subsequently, once the company becomes successful in issuing its shares in its IPO, it will continue its share trading, and that is called further public offer, follow-on public offer, when shares are issued subsequently to the public or for the second time to the public. It will be called follow-on public offer or further public offer. Have you heard about the IPO of Nykaa? Just search it. It became a huge success. So whenever a company is coming out with the new issue of securities to the public for the very first time, company is issuing securities to the public for the very first time, that is IPO. And then when again it is issuing, it becomes FPO. Clear? Then what is offer for sale? In case of offer for sale, the company appoints an issuing house. What is the company doing? The company is appointing an issuing house. Now, what is the work of this issuing house? Nothing. The issuing house will issue the shares on behalf of the company and follow all the legal rules and formalities relating to issue of securities. So what the company is doing, the company in order to avoid all kind of complex formalities, legal formalities, it is giving the responsibility to an issuing house. Now this issuing house will comply with all the formalities required to issue the shares, all the legal formalities. It will issue prospectus as well, so it will comply with all the legal formalities relating to issue of securities on behalf of the company. This is offer for sale. Clear? So IPO, there is FPO, there is offer for sale. Is it clear? So company is selling shares to the public only. Company is selling shares to the public in this manner, in these three manners. So public issue is divided into three types. One is IPO, one is FPO, one is offer for sale. Is it clear? Now next we will talk about the next type of new issue. First one was public issue, which is divided into three types: IPO, FPO and OFS. Now next after public issue comes right issue. We all know about right shares. Okay, we have all learnt about right issue of shares in our company law subject. I guess you all have studied that. So what was the right share issue? What is the details? What is this right shares? Whenever any company comes out with further issue of shares, means the company wants to raise its capital, means raise some additional capital. কোম্পানির কাছে ক্যাপিটাল অলরেডি আছে, কিন্তু কোম্পানি কিছু অ্যাডিশনাল ক্যাপিটাল আরও রেজ করতে চায়। whenever the company wants to raise additional capital, whenever the company wants to raise additional capital, whenever the company wants to raise additional capital, it will come out with issue of shares. Company will further issue shares. It will issue shares further. But whenever the company will issue shares further, it must be first issued to the existing equity shareholders. কোম্পানির কাছে ক্যাপিটাল আছে, বাট কোম্পানি আরও ক্যাপিটালকে বাড়াতে চায়, আরও অ্যাডিশনাল ক্যাপিটাল আনতে চায়. whenever the company wants to come out with some additional capital, this is only possible by issue of shares. So whenever the company will issue shares in order to increase the capital, these shares must be first issued to the existing shareholders. Just for an instance, তোর একটা এক্সাম্পল ভাব, সাপোজ তোদের কারোর কিছু লোনের দরকার, টাকার দরকার. সো ফর দ্য ভেরি ফার্স্ট টাইম তোদের মাথায় কি আসবে? যখন আমার টাকা দরকার আমি ফার্স্টে আমার ফ্যামিলি মেম্বার্সদের কাছ থেকে চাইবো। আমি আমার মা বাবাকে বলবো, আমি আমার মামা মামি কাকা কাকিমা হোয়াট এভার, ফার্স্ট আই উইল অ্যাপ্রোচ মাই ফ্যামিলি মেম্বার্স ফর দ্যাট মানি। ইয়েস অর নো? if family members refuses, if family members fails to give, then only you will approach a friend or some outsider. Yes or no? Basically তো তাই হয়, যখনই we need something we first think about family, our insiders. Similarly, when the company is requiring additional capital, the company will first think about the existing shareholders. The company will first ask the existing shareholders. Clear? The company will first ask the existing shareholders. And if the existing shareholders do not subscribe it, then the company will offer this to the outsiders. কনসেপ্টটা ক্লিয়ার হলো? যখনই আমার কিছু দরকার আমি ফার্স্ট ফ্যামিলি মেম্বার্সদের অ্যাপ্রোচ করব। দিস ইজ a very basic thing. Similarly, the company is doing the same thing. The company requires additional capital. The company is first offering this shared issue to the existing shareholders. If by chance the existing shareholders are not subscribing the shares and the existing shareholders are not interested in further subscribing the shares, then the company can issue the shares or offer the shares to the outsiders. But also, it might so happen that the company wants to issue the shares directly to the outsiders without asking the existing equity shareholders. এমনও হতে পারে যে আমি আমার ফ্যামিলি মেম্বার্সদের কাছে লোন না চেয়ে আমি ডাইরেক্টলি বাইরের থেকে লোন নিতে চাই, কিন্তু তখনও when I want to take the loan from outsider also, তখনও দেখবি you take the permission of your family. তুই ধর ব্যাংক লোন নিচ্ছিস, তুই ধর কিছু বিগ অ্যামাউন্ট লোন নিচ্ছিস, তুই কিন্তু আগে ফ্যামিলির সঙ্গে কনসাল্ট করবি, তারপরেই সেই লোনটা নিবি, হ্যাঁ কি না? Similarly, if the company wishes to issue this further shares to the outsiders directly, then the company needs to pass special resolution in general meeting. Means the company needs to take the decision, company needs to take the right, means the permission from the existing shareholders. Then only the company can directly issue shares to the outsiders. This is right issue. Whenever the company wants to raise additional capital, the company issues shares first to the existing equity shareholders. If the existing equity shareholders fails to subscribe it, then the company issues the shares to the outsiders. The company can also directly issue shares to the outsiders by just passing SR in GM. This is right issue. This is one of the method of new issue. Is it clear? Is it clear? The third type. The third one comes bonus issue. The third type or the third one is bonus issue. Now what is bonus issue? We all know. Whenever shares are issued free of cost. Shares are issued free of cost. Bonus, we are giving bonus free of cost. To whom? To the equity shareholders. When shares are issued free of cost to the equity shareholders, in what proportion? In proportion on the basis of the current holding. ইকুইটি শেয়ার হোল্ডার্সরা যারা কোম্পানির এক্সিস্টিং ইকুইটি শেয়ার হোল্ডার্স, তাদের তো কিছু শেয়ার হোল্ডিং আছে। অন দ্যাট বেসিস, অন দ্যাট প্রপোর্শন বোনাস শেয়ার্স আর ইস্যুড টু হুম? টু দ্য existing equity shareholders, that is free of cost. That is bonus issue. Now what are the legal rules or formalities we need to follow while doing bonus issue? Once if the company declares a bonus যদি কোম্পানি একবার ডিক্লেয়ার করে নেয়, তাহলে the bonus cannot be revoked, we cannot cancel it. Once the company declares the bonus can never be revoked, it cannot be cancelled. Okay, the company cannot say যে আমি ডিভিডেন্ড দেবো না, ডিভিডেন্ডের বদলে বোনাস দেবো। No, bonus can never be issued in lieu of dividend. Dividend is a separate thing, bonus shares is a separate thing. If you are declaring a bonus, then you cannot cancel it, right? And if you are declaring bonus, you cannot say that you are giving that bonus in lieu of dividend. মানে ডিভিডেন্টের বদলে আমি বোনাস দিচ্ছি হতে পারে না, বোনাস তোমাকে আলাদা তুমি দিতে পারো, সেটা তোমার উইশ, কিন্তু ডিভিডেন্ড তোমাকে দিতেই হবে। You cannot substitute both dividend and bonus, you cannot do that. Clear? And bonus issue is only possible if company's articles of association authorizes it. Means in the company's articles of association it is written that the company can come up with the bonus issue, then only the company can give bonus issue, provided that the company have not defaulted in payment of any interest or fixed deposit amount, or defaulted in payment of any kind of dues like employees provident fund, gratuity. Company হয়তো কোনো ইন্টারেস্ট পে করতে পারেনি, কিছু ফিক্সড ডিপোজিট রিটার্ন করতে পারেনি, বা কোম্পানি হয়তো এমপ্লয়িজদের গ্র্যাচুইটি, প্রভিডেন্ট ফান্ড এগুলোই দিতে পারছে না, যদি এইগুলো ডিফল্ট করে রেখে থাকে, মানে এগুলো দিতে পারেনি, তাহলে কোম্পানি বোনাস ইস্যু করতে পারবে না। এমনিতেই এত টাকা দেওয়া হয়নি, তারপর আবার নতুন করে কিসের বোনাস? যতক্ষণ না এই ডিফল্টগুলো ক্লিয়ার হচ্ছে, যতক্ষণ না কোম্পানি এই ডিফল্টগুলোকে রেকটিফাই করে দিচ্ছে, ততক্ষণ বোনাস ইস্যু ইজ নট পসিবল। ইজ ইট ক্লিয়ার? সো today we talked about the difference between primary and secondary market. We started with the methods of new issue, in which we first talked about public issue, which is divided into three parts: IPO, FPO and OFS. IPO, initial public offering; FPO, further public offer; OFS, offer for sale. We have talked about right issue, which is another method of new issue. Right issue when shares are issued to raise additional capital. These shares must be first issued to the existing equity shareholder. রাইট? এইসব কথা বললাম। নেক্সট আমরা পড়লাম বোনাস ইস্যু। বোনাস ইস্যু তখনই পসিবল ইফ দ্য কোম্পানি হ্যাজ নট ডিফল্টেড এনিথিং, ইফ দ্য কোম্পানি হ্যাজ if the company's article authorizes such issue, right? Company cannot issue bonus in lieu of dividend, and bonus once declared cannot be revoked. Bonus is issued in proportion to the shares held by the existing equity shareholder on the record date. Clear? So this is bonus issue, right? So next is what? Private placement, another type of private placement, another type of new issue, another method of new issue is private placement. Now this private placement is divided into QIP, okay, PI and now this private placement means, what do you mean by private placement? Private placement means when shares are issued to other than public. আমি এতক্ষণ পাবলিক ইস্যুতে কি করছিলাম? when shares are issued to the public. We talked about when the company is issuing shares directly to the public. In case of right issue also that happened, in case of bonus issue also that happened. But in case of private placement, shares are not being issued to the public, but they are being issued to some other parties, but not the public. Who are these other parties? One is QIP, one is PI, one is employees. Okay, now this is why QIP. The full form of QIP is qualified institutional placement. When shares are being issued to QIBs, qualified institutional buyers, it is known as qualified institutional placement. When shares are being issued to promoters, directors, KMP of the company, it is called preferential issue. To whom? The promoters, to the directors, to the KMPs. It is called preferential issue. When shares are issued to the employees, it is called either employee stock option plan, that is ESOP, or employee stock. There is stock option This is employee stock option scheme. Okay, and this actually we can call it as, mainly it will be better to call it ESPS, that is employee stock purchase scheme. One is stock option scheme, one is stock purchase scheme. So private placement means what? When shares are being issued to other than public. To whom? To the QIBs. Whenever the shares are being issued to QIBs, we'll call it as QIP, qualified institutional placement. When the shares are being issued to promoters, to directors, to key managerial personnel, it will be known as preferential issue. And whenever the shares are being issued to employees, we will call it as either ESPS, that is employee stock purchase scheme, or ESOP, ESOS, ESOS, that is employee stock option scheme. ESPS and ESOS, ESPS and ESOS. Clear? In the next class we will continue with this. Okay, so we are left with green shoe option. We are left with book building mechanism. Okay, fine. So in the next class we'll continue with this one, and let's see. Thank you, class.